Welcome to Waypoint of View. We're Jess and Miles, and we're on a worldwide journey to broaden our perspectives by putting ourselves somewhere new on the map. We are currently 8 days into the 3 Passes trek in the Khumbu region of Nepal. After hiking from Lukla to Chukung, we made it over Kongma La Pass and arrived in Lobuche in the middle of a snowstorm where we just spent the night at over 16,000 feet. And to say things don't go as expected from here would be an understatement, so stick around to the end where we explain how it all went wrong. So our original plan for today was to hike to Everest Base Camp, spend the night tonight in Gorakshep, and then hike to Kalapathar tomorrow for sunrise. But it continued to snow all afternoon yesterday after we got here, through the night, and is still snowing now.
So we're not going anywhere today, and in the meantime we're just enjoying our rest day here in Lobuche.
I know we mentioned early on that the accommodations get more and more basic the further up we go, so this room is still pretty standard, but this is definitely the coldest that we have been yet. This is all the snow that we brought in from our boots and our clothes yesterday, and it's so cold in this room that it is all still frozen on the ground. Also, this is the first tea house that we have stayed at where we have to go outside to go to the bathroom. So that was really fun last night. There's something else you have to see. Here's your squatty potty here, and there's a bucket of water here to rinse your business down with, and this oftentimes will freeze. So just a little handy meat cleaver to break up the ice to be able to get water out of here. Not something you see every day. The sun is out. Blue skies! Yay!
It is day 10 and we are headed to Everest Base Camp. It's about 6:30 this morning and colder than it's been this entire trek, but we got lucky. The snow stopped yesterday just before the sun went down. Everything is still covered in a very thick blanket of snow, but it looks like the yaks have created a manageable path for us. We have another clear, sunny morning and it feels good to be back on the trail.
This looks like a completely different valley than when we got here 2 days ago. I could not believe how clear it is today. I'm so thankful for the sun.
Well, the beauty of the snow has quickly given way to what can best be described as a grind. Hiking even up this gradual uphill in the snow, even though it's pretty well packed, this is tough. Gorakshep is right there, hidden, and we can see base camp with all of the tents right on the glacier. Well, we've made it to Gorakshep, and the original plan was to have lunch, drop off our things, and head to Everest Base Camp before coming back here to spend the night. However, Jess is experiencing some very significant swelling in her legs, and we're not really sure if it's from the allergic reaction to the Diamox or a reaction to the altitude, but either way, we made the decision to stay here, rest, hope Jess gets to feeling better, and if she's feeling better in the morning, we'll make a push for Everest Base Camp. If not, we'll just have to make our way down. She honestly seems to be feeling really well, but the swelling is very concerning, so hopefully that goes down and we can continue.
That's the thing, I don't feel bad at all. That's what's so frustrating. I'm so pissed. Telling me I have to go down. I'm not going down. I feel fine. I mean, I have a little bit of a headache. And my legs are twice the size that they normally are, and I don't know.
And you would agree that that's concerning.
I mean, it's not great. It's not great.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Well, it's a little after 8 o'clock. We honestly woke up around 5 this morning, and Jess's oxygen levels were in the 40s. So we are gonna head down and try and make it down to Pheriche, which is about a 7-hour hike from here, and see how Jess feels tomorrow and make a plan from there. But for now, we're headed down. What? You hiked 7 hours on those legs today.
We made it to Pheriche yesterday, which is at roughly 14,000 feet in elevation, so we have dropped quite a bit from Gorakshep. It seems that I'm dealing with a combination of things. I had a full body rash, which we had decided was a delayed allergic reaction to the Diamox I was taking. So I made the tough call to stop taking it right before our highest elevation pass. Now, over the past few days, I have had significant swelling in my arms, legs, and as you probably can see, even my face, and my O2 levels dropped significantly.
That's probably an understatement.
The hike to Gorakshep was rough. I was incredibly weak and fatigued, and by the time we made it, my legs were so swollen, they were basically twice the size that they normally are.
They were coming over her boots.
It was gross.
When she pulled her socks back and her tights, she could not even pull them up her leg because her legs were so swollen. It was scary.
Yeah, it was not great.
But Jess was in such good spirits at the tea house, she managed to convince us to wait and see how she felt in the morning, and if there was any improvement, we would consider making a push for base camp. However, in the middle of the night, I could definitely tell Jess was struggling to breathe, so I actually woke her up at around 5 a.m. to check her oxygen levels, and they had dropped down to the mid-40s. Her eyes were nearly swollen shut, and she was complaining of a really bad headache, so there was no question in my mind that it was time to start heading down.
Needless to say, Everest Base Camp was out of the question yesterday, and it was really frustrating because we were so close, and we have already been to altitudes higher than base camp twice on this trek. We could literally see it from where we were. We were a 2 to 3 hour hike away. It was only 500 more feet in elevation.
It felt close.
It was rough.
I honestly felt like it was a coin flip whether or not Jess had the energy to come all the way down here. I was this close to hiring a helicopter, but I'm really proud of her for being able to make it all the way down here on her own 2 feet.
We actually went to a clinic here in town yesterday, and my oxygen levels have significantly improved, and the doctor gave me some medication that's hopefully going to help with the swelling. So fingers crossed that things go well today and we can continue our trek in the Himalayas.
It's another beautiful morning, and we are on our way down to Phortse, which is going to be a good spot for us to determine our future plans, whether we continue down to Namche or we turn back up the valley to head to Gokyo Lakes. But we're feeling good today, and we're hoping to make the most out of our time left here in the Himalayas. We have made it to Phortse, and it is time for Jess to get off of her feet.
So, to be honest, when we first started this trek, I did not even contemplate the idea that we wouldn't get to Everest Base Camp. That just wasn't an option in my mind. So in Gorakshep, when Miles and Simber said that we had to go down, I just sat in the middle of the tea house and just cried shamelessly in front of everyone in the room. It was really tough for me to accept what I was considering to be failure. It's been a pretty big roller coaster since then. I've felt a lot of disappointment in myself, but I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that this trek was never about just checking things off of a list. Is it going to look wildly different than what we had expected going into it? Yes, absolutely. There's no Everest Base Camp, no Kalapather, no Chola Pass. But that does not retract from the absolutely incredible experience that we have had over the past 12 days.
All right, I made the call this morning. It's time to officially pull the plug and head further down. I think if it were up to Jess, we would definitely keep hiking. She's not one to have ever quit anything in her life, so I know this is hard for her, but after seeing how swollen she was this morning when she woke up, there was no question in my mind. So sadly, I think it's time to say goodbye to the Himalayas for now.
This trek ended a lot differently than we had expected. We'll try not to ramble too much here, but we felt like the video left some things unanswered. As I'm sure you can imagine, going through something like this, our priority was not filming, so we wanted to fill in some holes. Ultimately in Gorakshep, I had some pretty severe symptoms from the altitude, and as much as I tried to fight it at the time, really the only option for us was to go down an elevation to see if things would improve enough for us to continue. Over the next 2 days, we dropped 4,000 feet to Phortse, and while most of my altitude sickness symptoms had gone away, I was still waking up with my face looking like this, and my legs still looked like this. And just for a comparison's sake, here's a little side-by-side for you. If you couldn't tell what Miles was doing in that clip earlier, he was pushing on my leg and it was leaving an indentation. There was so much fluid in there. It was not great.
Once we were in Phortse, we were at a fork in the valley where we could either go further up towards Gokyo Lakes or, if necessary, head further down. And this is where I made the call to ultimately end our trek and get down out of the mountains. And it was really tough because honestly, you were doing great. Your oxygen levels were as high as mine and you were ready to go. But at the end of the day, even though we had come down 4,000 feet, we were still at roughly 13,000 feet, and it just did not seem safe to take you any higher up in altitude with such significant swelling that just wasn't going away.
It was so frustrating because at that point I felt fine. Mentally, I was there for it. I was ready to go, but my body was just not cooperating.
I wish you could have been there when she was trying to convince us to keep going. She was like a bulldog.
They told me in Gorakshep that we had to go down, and I basically said no.
As soon as we got there, it was very clear that we should probably go down, but she wasn't having it.
Anyway, in Phortse, that was the call, and as tough as it was to make it, it was the right one, and I know that now. It was just very hard at the time. And still a little heartbreaking to look back on.
We actually made it back to Kathmandu right as things were locking down, so we quickly had to get a flight out of Nepal, and ironically, we were planning to celebrate our 10-year anniversary while on this trek. And since it ended a week early, we went to the Maldives to celebrate our anniversary there instead.
This was certainly not our plan, and if you have followed along on our journey so far, you will know that all-inclusive resort travel is really not our style. on account of our current unemployment status. But it was wonderful and magical and exactly what we needed. You should also know that I made a full recovery while in the Maldives. After the swelling went down and the rash went away, all of my skin completely peeled off. It was so weird.
It really was.
We still have no idea what actually was wrong with me, but all is good now. I do intend to take on the Himalayas again at some point, or at least to try. And I'm looking at you, Bhutan, or Pakistan, or China,
But
India, whoever will take us.
her dad and I have enacted a very strict altitude limit of 5,000 meters, at least for now.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But in the meantime, we will see you next week in Armenia. Oh, also, there will be no video on the Maldives because it was our 10-year anniversary. But if you've made it to this point in the video, here's a little bonus Maldives B-roll segment for you.
It was our 10-year anniversary, so.
Judge us if you want, we don't care.
Yes, we did stay over the water in the Maldives.
We did.
Yes, it was expensive.
Yes, it
No,
was.
it was not in our budget. Yes, it was worth it.